Okay, we'll get going in about 2 minutes, Connie.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, we'll make a start. It looks like Elena's here with us. Elena, can you hear me okay? Please maybe raise your hand in the... Yeah, Elena can hear us. That's a good sign. Let's get started, Connie. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Jane Jenkins. Thank you very much for joining us on this webinar today. I know from some of the names I can see on the list, some of us already know each other and you've partnered with Churchill. Today, we're going to focus in the next sort of 55 minutes on helping you understand how to build a system of coaching culture and capability in your organization with the purpose of helping your employees grow and in turn to drive performance. So what is a leader coach? A leader coach is a leader in the corporate world or the government world in business that also coaches. And so really what we're talking about today is building a culture where coaching is expected in your organization, it's desired, and you're getting your leaders ready to be leader coaches so that they're capable of coaching to drive growth and performance. So today's going to be very much big picture of how to do that. And we're looking forward to sharing Churchill's many years of global experience doing that with clients. We'll also throw in a tip or two in terms of how to coach, but it's not an hour of how to coach. It's about how to build a coaching culture and capability in your organization. All right, so a little context about Churchill if you're new to us. We are a global organization. We do professional development. We exist because we so believe that there's so much untapped talent around the world in corporate and government organizations that can truly be harnessed and enhanced by focusing on skills and investing in soft skills to accelerate performance. We operate around the globe in the regions you can see there on the right, including the US, Latin America, EMEA, and APAC. And we focus on 3 key buckets of solutions. Working usually with your HR department to improve organization capacity across the organization. That might be a organization-wide, building a coaching culture with you. It might be improving employee engagement, improving the culture or helping you drive a particular change. We also do leadership development, which includes executive coaching, leadership development, great manager journeys to help your managers improve in a variety of skills, as well as other skill building workshops and webinars. And of course, we have a variety of programs that help you improve intact team performance. To do that, we have over 200 executive coaches, consultants, trainers, and facilitators around the world to best fit your need. My role in the organization is CEO and founder. I am an executive coach, and you can see some of my certifications on the screen. But most of my job now is running the company, working with our coaches, supporting our clients, and our internal leadership team. So I rarely coach, but I am using my coaching skills every day in conversations with clients and team members. We have a real variety of clients and the people on the line today. Thank you very much for joining us. I know we have a mix of retail, service, finance, IT companies, and more. And here on the screen, you also see a variety of our larger clients who we've been working with, many of them for many years, to give you a feel of the clients that Churchill works with. Okay. So why am I qualified to talk about building a coaching culture and helping your leaders become great leader coaches? It started over sort of, 20 years ago when I learned to coach in the pharmaceutical industry. I spent over 20 years in the pharmaceutical industry, and it was there that I learned how to coach. My job was to lead large teams to bring in the business, to drive sales, to lead operations teams, to lead strategic planning teams, to deliver performance. And the organization believed that if I could have better conversations with my team and conversations that stretched their thinking and their growth, then my sales teams could perform better. So I learned very early on to be a leader coach in the corporate world. Now, a couple of things that really opened my eyes back there. I was trying too hard before I became a leader coach. When I learned coaching skills, I realized I didn't have to have all of the answers. I had to spend quality time with each of my people to help them think through their situations, to find better solutions, innovation, and faster ways of getting results. So it took some of the pressure off me and got me out of the weeds and enabled me to enhance my team, accelerate their growth and performance, and allowed me to focus more on what I needed to do as a people leader and be more strategic and lead my team. What I also realized very quickly, and it was a bit of a kick to my ego, was prior to coaching, I was actually getting in people's way. I thought I had to have all the answers, and it just wasn't the case. So I learned about 20 years ago that becoming a leader coach in the corporate world is a really smart strategy for organizations to start to do. Since then, as part of the Churchill Group, I was a big part of building the Leader as Great Coach program that Churchill delivers across the globe with clients. And I personally have been involved in training over 1,000 leaders myself across cultures, levels of leader around the globe. I'm in a position today to work with a variety of companies across industries to see how they are evolving with their leader coach culture and the approach they're taking. And it varies. They start with the Churchill version, but then they'll tweak it to suit their needs, depending on their industry, depending on meeting them where they are today. So now I get to see that much bigger view. So I can answer a lot of your questions and respond to some of your thoughts, which is the reason why I do these webinars for you. We also have on the line, I'm delighted to say, marketing and analytics expert, Dr. Connie Evans. Connie, thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, Jane, thank you for having me. Very excited to learn what you have to share with us today.
Thank you, Connie. And chime in at any point if what I'm saying needs clarified based on what you're seeing in the chat box, because I know you're going to monitor that for us, and just interrupt me at any time.
Absolutely.
Thank you. You're also going to be helping us do some polling so that the audience can further participate. So audience, please, this webinar is only as effective as your participation. So if you have a thought, if you agree with me and want to add more, if you disagree with me and want to share why, your colleagues will benefit. Please do not hesitate. I'm open to continue learning in this space despite having several decades of experience. Let's start with a poll that asks us, why are you implementing a leader as great coach approach in your organization? Or maybe why are you thinking about doing it? Connie, please launch our first poll for the audience to respond to. All right. We have about half of you have completed. Let's just give it a few more moments. All right. It looks like the majority of you are choosing or thinking about doing this, and I don't know if you can share results with the audience, Connie, is to improve business performance. I'm all over that. I'm all about results. We have quite a strict and robust measuring success approach in all of the programs that we do at Churchill. The efforts that we put in, both you and Churchill, have to count, right? We want performance to increase for your organization, for your customers, for your people to benefit. That's ultimately why we do Leader as Great Coach. But there can be sort of more of a lag measure. Some of them here are improve the quality of conversations we're having. Absolutely, that comes first. And because of that, we can improve performance. Excellent. Thank you very much as well. Yeah, increased retention. We hear that a lot. A lot of people in an organization are not getting developed or aren't getting feedback or clear direction from their managers. So managers need to learn to have better conversations to help the people grow, but also keep them in your organization. We know how expensive attrition is. So thank you. If we can close that poll, that would be great, Connie. Thank you very much. Now we have a good idea of what our audience is trying to do. All right. So let's start with an exercise, and I'm going to ask each of you to reflect. This is similar to one of the many, many exercises we have in our Leader as Great Coach program, because it has to be very experiential for participants to learn. Take a moment to think about your best leader in your career. Specifically, think about that leader that stands out and the types of conversations they had with you. What did they do in those conversations to make them so effective? And how did those conversations impact your performance and growth? And then share your insight, just in a couple of words, in the chat box, please. What did they do to make those conversations so effective? And how did it improve your growth and performance? Let's see what you've experienced, please. Connie, when you're ready, I'm actually not going to look at the chat because I get distracted very easily. I'll leave you to summarize some of the comments.
Sure. They asked questions more than telling them what to do. They helped me train and focus on possibilities rather than problems or challenges. She is always upbeat and positive, and it creates positive energy. Focused on augmenting strengths, not just areas of development. Interactive communication that guide to the future. It made them feel trustworthy.
Oh, yes.
They were never spoken down to. More of a guiding, less than telling, and encourage and are intentional with their advice. Oh my gosh, there's so much here. Asked questions and focused on my strengths, generates ownership.
Great participation here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Keep them coming. Connie will keep a close eye on that. If there are other factors, we certainly see some consistent themes there. Trust. Helping your leaders become great coaches really helps them build trust in your organization with their employees. In addition, turning on a coaching mindset means I believe that the person I'm talking to has solutions, and it takes away my ego that I have to have all the solutions, but the person closer to getting the work done, my employee, has their own ideas. I've just got to slow them down to think through them and figure out the best way to move forward. So I'm creating, as their coach, that rich environment, that sacred space to help them think through it. And I'm not telling them what to do. I'm believing they have the answers within. I just need to create that space by staying present, believing them, bringing the right atmosphere, that positivity, helping them harness their talent, and asking powerful questions. All of this is totally in Churchill's program, and all of what you're saying is very much part of building this type of culture. Thank you. And that's typically what we see when we do this exercise with a whole room of leaders at all levels, is they've seen what good can look like, right? They've seen it themselves, but they don't see it on a regular basis. And that's a shift. We want all of your leaders in your organization to be having this type of conversation. So let's summarize a little around what leaders, managers, and great HR leaders, when they know how to coach, they have conversations that are collaborative, which means you're in it together with your employee and they happen on a regular basis over time. You don't solve everything in one conversation. If your employee is working on a project, you have a regular conversation that helps them move forward faster. You explore together. You deal with challenges and provide strong rapport, but you don't have to have all the answers. And by helping them think through it themselves, that's where their confidence grows. And that's where they're not reliant on their managers to give them all the answers so they can move forward faster when their manager's busy. It's about empowering your team members to learn and solve for themselves so they can do it when you're not there. It's scalable. It helps your people think and for themselves on a more regular basis so they can move faster and better. It allows discovery and growth in areas where they didn't even know that they could do things. It builds engagement and trust, which ultimately accelerates your business performance. So if I put this down to a couple of key shifts, if your leaders go through a Leader as Great Coach program, these are some of the key shifts they would experience and I would expect you to see. They stop solving for their employees and they start coaching because they have a coaching mindset, skills, and tools to do it. They stop telling and thinking have to have all the answers, which is impossible really, right? Because they're not close enough to the business anymore. They're no longer a subject matter expert. They are empowering people to figure out the solutions for themselves. And instead of focusing on minutia and getting in the weeds and the day-to-day activity, they can stay focused on outcomes, performance, and growth. So here are some of the big shifts that you see when you do a Leader as Great Coach program. So for this webinar, and I think we're about 15 minutes into it, what do you want to get most out of the next 45 minutes? Let's just do this as a quick poll, Connie, please. Where's your thinking of what will benefit you most? Thank you very much. So it sounds like two things in particular are tips on how to get started, and I'll very much do that with a framework, particularly in the planning phase. I'll share some really valuable tips there. Also, quite a few peer insights. So again, you want to hear from each other. So as I'm sharing things with you, feel free to share your thoughts in the chat for everyone to benefit from. One of the things that we've learned doing this program around the world is the importance of harnessing the peer power. As leaders go through our program together as a cohort style, they work together very, very closely as they practice coaching with Churchill's expert support, and that peer interaction that we enable for them is incredibly powerful. All right, I'm going to close that poll and we move on. So I'm going to start with benefits, and I'm just going to stay here for a little while. And the reason is some of you on the line may have to go back and influence other people why this is a good idea. You might have to go speak to your CEO to get the budget to do this. You might have to go back and influence your HR team. It might be a variety of things, but I always find it valuable to share some of the benefits that we see. Again, if you see more, share them in the chat, and Connie will keep an eye on that. So big picture, we know the world we live in. Employees have a lot of access to knowledge and answers. So managers don't have to have all the answers like they used to. They need to stretch their employees. Employees want control, they want choices, they want to have input, they want design thinking, and they want to be developed. So that changes the type of conversation managers have to have with their people. I might say, for example, as a leader coach to a team member, it sounds like you have a few ideas of how you can solve this. What are some of your ideas that are bubbling up that might be the best for you to try? Like, I won't tell them what to do, but I may get them to think through concisely what some of their options are, because they want control and they want choices. Then through coaching, I'd probably help them prioritize that so that they leave the conversation with a clear plan. People leaders are overwhelmed. We've got to free up your people leaders to get out of the weeds and lead. Coaching will help you do that. Your customers want speed. And if your employees are hanging around to get answers from managers, they're not as nimble and agile as they could be. You also need to differentiate yourself from competitive organizations. Building a coaching culture attracts talent, and it helps you keep talent and accelerates your competitive edge. And we've all seen the trend of the last 5 to 7 years of going from once or twice a year performance management conversations to having regular, weekly, monthly conversations with employees, and the importance of that. That's where coaching is the framework to do that, the vehicle. So that's at a high level when you think of your organization. What about for your leaders and teams? Here are a few things. It gets them into the habit to have regular conversations and know how to have them. Because they can coach now, it helps them individualize the learning for each employee and improve the self-awareness and management of their team. It builds trust fast, frees them up, and helps them also coach their team as an intact team to improve team performance. What about yourself and your organization? A lot of you on the line come from HR. Okay, it helps you set the expectation of your people managers. We want to build a coaching culture. Our leaders are great coaches. We're going to put a program in place to enable that. We're going to hold people accountable to that. We're going to promote great coaches. It gives you a clear expectation and a framework. You can use it in attracting, in interviews, in your website to talk about why people should work for your organization. It certainly aligns to employee engagement, and we help you align your employee engagement questions to align with coaching. It certainly supports your diversity inclusion efforts because your managers make less assumptions and really get down to the authenticity and the diversity that each person brings to the table by having those better conversations and exploring more about each of their employees. And it certainly builds a growth mindset culture in your organization because every conversation is focused on growth and stretching our thinking and doing. There's data that supports it as well. This is based on a lot of data, including the ILA, which is a big European body that shows the benefits of building a coaching culture in your organization. And because of the coaching skills, these things improve as well that you see on the screen. I'm going to share two other quick things that you might not think of. Then I'm going to turn to Connie to see if she's seen anything in the chat box. In the middle there, the blue circle is the leader coach. They're your leaders that typically go through a Churchill program, and they coach their employees that report to them. But what we find is when they learn to coach, they use the coaching skills they learn to have better conversation with their peers in meetings, better conversations with customers, and even manage up better. They can have more courageous conversations with their boss, help their boss understand what's really going on, and have a better voice in their conversations with their supervisor than maybe they've had in the past. So what we find happens is it's a 360 or a full circle impact when we set your leaders up to be great coaches. And that's a pretty big impact. And then finally, there's the impact outside of work. This is my son, Braden, our son. He's 19 now and less of a baby gator. He's just gone back to UF in his second year. And because I started coaching when he was young, I was able to make less assumptions, really turn on my active listening, build high levels of trust that, trust me, continue today, which is very important as a teenager, because I was able to coach. It made me a better leader as well as a better parent. So there's this also side effect of coaching that helps your employees in their whole life. I mean, really, why wouldn't you want to create a coaching culture and capability within your organization? Some of you want to know how to get started, and some of you want peer tips. So is there anything in the chat box that we can share right now, Connie?
Nothing yet. I'm waiting.
Okay, if you've got any tips for your peers, don't be shy in sharing them. Connie suggested, and I thought it was a great idea, sharing an actual coaching tip with you that you can use straight away. We do multiple coaching skills in our Churchill program, and one of them that I think you would all expect to see is asking great questions. In our coaching program at Churchill, we call it asking powerful questions. The word powerful is really, really important So I'm going to give you as individuals a few tips right now. Powerful. A question is powerful because it really gets the person I'm asking it to really think in a more diverse way, a deeper way, than they would have done had I not asked the question. So I'm changing the game in the way they think. And a great compliment when you ask a powerful question was, whoa, that was a great question. Or, I would never have thought of that. Or, ooh, I need to give that some thought. Right? You know when you're asking a powerful question because you can almost see the light bulb go off. It benefits the other person when you ask a powerful question even more than it does you. As a coach, it's not about gathering information. That is more self-serving. It's about getting the other person to think about the situation in a new way. Who else is your decision impacting? That might be a question for someone that I see is just thinking about their immediate environment, and they need to think about more stakeholders around them that right now they're not thinking about. So I might ask the question, who else will your decision impact? And I might stay in that space with them for a while as a coach to get them think more broadly around the impact of the decision that they're about to make to see who else is affected. It's a very open question. It's for them more than it is for me. So when asking powerful questions, be very clear and get to the point. Make them concise. Make them very targeted on the subject at hand. Very targeted on what your employee said they want to get out of the conversation today. It should stimulate internal reflection. So you want to ask questions that are very solution focused. Very forward direction. A forward direction question might sound like, what are your possible next steps? A generating solutions might sound like, it sounds like you're a little stuck. What are a couple of possible solutions you could explore? That really, as simple as it sounds, helps people think through things where initially they came in and they felt stuck. Try to use open questions more than closed in order for the person to open up and think through. Stay curious. By asking powerful questions, you prevent making assumptions that might be wrong and might reduce trust. A litmus test in asking powerful questions is they might start with what, when, who, why, how. Or phrases like, tell me more, help me understand. If you ask a question, you hear silence, it's probably because it was a powerful question. Don't jump in with 2 feet and try and fill the gap. My personal tip to myself is I literally will sit on my hands and slowly count to 8. By then, even your maybe more reserved people or more introverted people that need more time to think have had time to think through it. Respect the silence. Now, this might all sound very easy. Does it sound easy to you, Connie, to ask powerful questions like this?
It sounds easy, but in practice, actually, no. It requires you to give it some thought before you speak.
So let me just give you a couple of examples. When we do this skill in our workshops, in our learning journey at Churchill, you think, well, they'll jump into it. No, 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 no. We hear all closed questions. We hear people telling people what to do, hidden as a question, disguised as a question. We hear people stuck for answering questions because a lot of people leaders are used to talking in their one-on-ones with their people. So it actually is quite a shift for them. So we make sure there's lots and lots of practical practice and experiential practice in a way that they will use it on the job, and they're supported by Churchill experts to help build their confidence and get to a new place. So common knowledge, knowing this, doesn't mean you can do it well. My tip for you is to practice this and observe the questions that are asked around you. Observe the questions you get asked by your boss. Observe the questions you ask other people observe questions in meetings, and you'll notice that many of them are not powerful. And you certainly will notice the powerful ones because of the impact they have on the audience. So that's my little tip around coaching specifically. Let me just pause for a moment and see if there are any direct questions from our audience. If you have a question, feel free to type it in the chat or come off mute.
Terry wants to include that they say, take your time, I'll stand by.
That's a nice permission to give them time to think. I love that. Thank you for that tip. Any questions for me? Pop them in the chat box. All right, we're 30 minutes in, halfway through. So now I'm going to go back to that big picture and talk about how Churchill delivers successful programs partnering with clients to build a coaching culture and capability within your organization. You can learn from this. You can choose to partner with Churchill. Either way, I want you to walk away with value. So when you're at the initial, which it sounds like a lot of you are in that initial place, how do we get started? You want definitely a planning phase. Myself and a lot of our coaches are certified in some type of change management. The reason I chose to get certified in what's called ProSci is it's a very established change management approach, proven globally for many decades, very research driven, used by governments, nonprofits, and corporations around the world. So I know ProSci, and I want to share a little tip from you, is that individuals, for you to change your culture, if you were to close your eyes and say, 3 years from now, our organization, all of our leaders can coach really, really well. They are coaching, and because of it, our employees are growing at a faster rate and our performance is improving. That's a change. To do that, you really have to change minds one mind at a time. You have to change behavior one person at a time. Your organization is not a flip of a switch. And the way ProSci describes that is ADKAR. To change individuals or groups of individuals, we have to build awareness first. Then we have to create a desire. Then we have to teach them how to do it so they have the knowledge to do it. Then we have to have them practice so we can see they do it and they have the confidence knowing they can do it. And we have to put things in place to make sure we don't go backwards. We're reinforcing it. So I'm going to speak to this as I show you the different phases to try and make this as clear as possible. Planning phase, and that's why I spent so much time on benefits over the last few minutes, is think about why you're doing this. What benefits do you want to get out of a program like this? When we partner with clients, we're very much involved in this planning phase. We're your thought experts. We challenge your thinking. We bring in the expertise that we have from across industries to make sure your thinking is as critical and thorough as possible, and really starting with the end in mind. So this is very much the awareness and desire phase. How will you build awareness in your organization at your C-suite level, within HR, within your leaders at all levels, within your employees around what you're trying to do and why, and what the hope is? And how will you build a desire for everyone to want to do this, right? You've got to do that and you've got to do it well. So you want to really visualize what great looks like further down the line from you. Start with the end in mind. Confirm what's important. Don't go alone. Involve a mix of HR and business leaders in doing this. What will change? Get really concrete, and why does it need to change? Tie coaching very much to the business need and how coaching will impact your KPIs. You want to secure a long-term commitment. You don't want to be in a situation where you started here in the next few months and have the budget in 2019, then the budget gets ripped away from you in 2020. Not a good idea, and will cause a lot of problems for you. So you want to have to think about, will this take us 2 years? And how do I secure budget for those 2 years to do this right? Ensure you have influencer role models. You want to identify those leaders within your executive and senior leaders that really want to do this and will work with you and be role models along the way. And we teach you how to do that. You want to integrate it into your processes. You have to think about this in the planning phase, but this is also very much about the reinforcement phase, the phase at the end. Make sure you integrate it into your interviewing processes. If you really want your leaders to be coaches, it has to be in your interview questions. If you really believe your great leaders are great coaches, you have to be promoting those that are great coaches and not the opposite. Otherwise, you won't be walking the talk. And you have to find ways to measure success, and we have lots of great ways to help you do that. So that's the planning phase. The design phase, the actual program that your leaders will go through. It has to work for you. I was talking to a client just a couple of weeks ago, and most of their leaders travel almost every week. It might not be always flying, but they're traveling by car. So it's hard for them to bring them together. So this is where we really leverage things like Zoom and webinars and lots of technology so that we fit the program to fit you. So in the design phase, think about how you can get your leaders to go through a program that allows them to do a lot of practice, a lot of peer interaction, to be supported by experts like Churchill in a way that fits your business. Again, we help you do that and help you think of different ways that are options. It's during this phase that your people will learn how to coach. So you want the right coaching learning journey that fits for you. Cohorts work well, having peers go through it together. But what we find works with one big global technology company may not work for a government body where most people are based in DC, or a service industry that is traveling all of the time. So we help you fit the right journey and the touch points to fit your organization. So you want to really think through that in the design and planning phase. You cannot have enough practice, peer practice, experiential real-world practice, and expert demonstrations. When we do demonstrations as coaches in the program, they just want more and more of it. They want to see what good looks like. You want to tailor it to your location. What we do in Korea is different to what we do in Mumbai. The program ultimately for one organization is the same, but we need to tailor it for the culture, the language, as well as the level of leader. Don't go alone. Even if you don't need Churchill, experts like Churchill to run the whole program, at least have experts like Churchill in the thinking part of your program so that you don't fall into black holes. And start with a pilot. We'll help you learn from your pilot to then put a even more robust, scalable program that works for you in place. Then you go roll the program out. And this is where people show their ability to coach, and you can reinforce it so it's sustainable over time. So you want a really good communication and marketing plan. You don't want to just communicate it up front, roll out the program, and let the communication die. You want to really communicate what success looks like, how coaching is helping your business perform better, why your people are growing by coaching. So you want to capture success stories and communicate them. Iterate where needs be. Your program doesn't have to be built beyond the pilot and never change. You can tweak it. So keep listening to your audience. So I'm going to move now on a couple of risks and how to mitigate them. But before we do that, after sharing these phases to help you plan and deploy a program, I definitely want to pause and see what's going through people's minds, Connie, answer any questions and see how people are reacting to this. Audience, please use the chat box. What's your reaction? What would you agree with? What do you want to share that's different for others on the line to benefit from?
Okay, when you speak about letting your people solve problems for themselves, how do you deal with leaders or managers that find it difficult to give up control and trust their team, i.e. the micromanagers?
Huge question. And I've never seen a workshop where that doesn't come up. I've got to let go of control. My people depend on me being an expert. It's really hard to stay a subject matter expert when you're a people leader because a big part of your job is doing the leading and developing of people and other things. you need your people on your team to be experts. You need them a lot of the time to be the subject matter experts. Although a people leader might have a subject matter expertise in a certain area, but you can no longer be an expert at everything. So I think we need your leaders to understand that. And one thing they do need to be an expert on is developing people, holding them accountable, and coaching them. But that's a transition for leaders, right? And they've got to trust that their people are capable. And so some leaders, and in a lot of situations, you don't give up total control all at once. Let me give you a quick example. Let's say your employee is in charge of a project, and up until now, when they get stuck, or once every 2 weeks, they have a one-on-one with your people manager, and your people manager is giving them answers and advice. You're actually touching base with them every 2 weeks. The project might be 6 months long. You still do that in coaching. You're not just letting total control go. You're still having regular conversations, maybe even more regular conversations with them. So you can tell by speaking with them whether the project is on track or not. You're not letting total go of control. In fact, by asking more questions, you can really figure out what's going on in that project and ultimately have more control of the outcome than you are the details of the steps. So as leaders practice this in the real world, which is a big part of their program, they realize they're giving up a little control short-term in questions, but they're actually having better control over the outcome, the actual outcome of what their employees are on the hook for. And they can focus on that, and they can put more accountability on that. And the ball moves forward faster. Did that make sense to you, Connie, as I described that?
Yes, absolutely. We have some more questions. How do you handle the situation when the coachee is not receptive to the coaching, i.e., if they don't have the awareness or desire?
Yes, and that's very real. I can tell you some very, very funny stories. Just a very simple one. We've done these programs over many years ago when the coachee that's trained to be a coach has gone out and started coaching, and the employees are like, "What's wrong with you? You're different. What are you trying to do? You won't answer my questions," right? And so it becomes really awkward for everyone involved. So for many years, as part of our program, we set the leader coaches, the people going through the program, how to set their team up for coaching. Plus, you complement that with your big picture communication to your whole organization of why you're doing a coaching program, why you need your leaders to be great coaches, and the benefits to employees. So you're doing it from more of a big picture level, what employees can expect, and then we're setting your leaders up to do it individually, to have those conversations and team conversations with their people. It's an important part of success. We want to prevent those roadblocks. Great question. Anything else, Connie?
Yes. What should I do when the coachee believes she is better than anybody and doesn't need to improve in any way?
First question I'd ask is that okay for you, the leader who has this person on their team? That to me sounds like, and I'm just going by what I've heard, a very fixed mindset. And if employees in my organization had a fixed mindset, my organization's not going to grow. I need employees at Churchill Leadership Group, and Connie's a superb example of this, to recognize that for our organization to grow, for us to bring greater value to our customers, we all have to keep growing. So a couple of solutions there. You need to hire people that have a growth mindset. No matter how high they go in your organization or how good they get, your expectation is they continue to grow, even if they want to stay in the same job, right? The world changes around us. If you're a coder, you still have to get better at coding if you want to be a coder for the rest of your life. That is the difference between a fixed and growth mindset. So first question is it okay that someone has that mindset in your team? And maybe that becomes the subject of the coaching conversations. But also look for that in the interview process. Next question, Connie.
I have a couple more. I don't want to hold you up, Jane. Do you want to continue, and I can save them for the end?
It looks like Jamie has one. Let's take hers and then I'll move on.
Okay.
Hi, Jamie.
Curious on how this can help a leadership team build cohesiveness among each other, but also developing their own teams.
That's a great question. That goes back to the full circle 360. quick example here. I was coaching a CFO in the UK, although I'm based in Florida. I was doing this program in the UK, where actually I am today. And she left after the first day of the workshop and went to a global meeting that evening. And she came back the next day and she said, Jane, can I speak to my peers? And there were about 40 people in the room going through the program. She said to her peers, I asked one powerful question at that meeting last night. And that made that meeting the best meeting we've had for months. It changed the game of our meeting. It stopped us going around in circles and really helped us move forward. And so that's an example of a peer asking a peer a powerful question in the many meetings they're in together. And so what she did was really get the conversation going and got more exploration of ideas on the table. So Jamie, what it does for peers, they use the same coaching skills and ability to build trust amongst each other and not making assumptions about each other to actually help their work together improve. So a part of our program is working peers with peers practicing coaching, and the bonds that we see are huge in an organization. We have people that were in a program at one client, for example, that went through the program 3 years ago and still do peer coaching with each other because they have bonded so well and the business benefits because of it. It's a huge advantage of this program. All right, hope that helped, Jamie. Happy to take further questions later. I'm just going to whiz through a few more things to help everyone. What are some common challenges and ways to avoid them? If you are an HR leader, pop your hand up in the chat room. Let's see how many of you we have, please. All right, we definitely have a handful here. So these sort of things are for you. We've seen challenges that HR have faced, and so we want to try and prevent you. Don't do this in a vacuum. Don't make this an HR initiative. Make this a business initiative, and make sure on your planning team and deployment team, there are business leaders. Higher the better, and a diverse mix. We'll teach you how to do that, but don't do it in a vacuum. Don't let executives off the hook. They might say to you, yeah, this is for our first line managers. I don't need this. You know what? Guess who needs it the most? We will help you have those influential conversations. We will have those conversations side by side with you, with your people leaders, and share global experience of Fortune 500 companies that thought that, then figured out there was a better way. Coaching really needs to start at the top for it to work for your organization. Never stop connecting the dots between the successes you're having and why we're doing coaching and how that's impacting the business. You can do that with success stories, but you have to be collecting them and reaching out for them to tell those stories, to keep connecting the dots between coaching and business performance and growth. Okay, couple of, who on the line is a business leader? In the corporate world, raise your hand. All right, we have a nice mix here. Watch for you and your peers as you learn to coach to get stuck in solving. You may not even realize that you're stuck in solve mode as a people leader. Observe your peers, leaders that report to you. They think they're asking powerful questions, for example, and they're really saying, have you tried this? It's a solution in disguise. It's a solution with a question mark at the end. That is not coaching, and that is not a powerful question. When a leader asks an employee, have you tried this? The employee hears, this is what you need to do. You're telling them what to do. You're not coaching. When to coach, when not to coach. That comes up in every program. So we are proactive in really doing situational leadership and having people practice this. It's a necessary part of a program. New leaders, new to coaching, don't know when to coach and when not, so we give them lots of practice in that space using your real world scenarios that are applicable to your business. I don't have time to coach. We have them practice in very small windows of coaching, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. They soon start to realize that's a myth, and they can coach in a one-on-one, which often are 30 minutes, even an hour, some of them. It's a myth. Find ways to bust that myth. And we can't make coaching focus on what's wrong with the person. We have to coach what's going right and expand it, because that's a big part of how you'll accelerate your business fast. So stay out of the trap of your leaders thinking coaching is for coaching what's going wrong, help them to coach what's going right and get more of it. And it feels really good to do that too. I want to share a quick case study, then we'll take some final questions and do a final poll. We've done this, Churchill Leadership Group has done this globally with many organizations. We've got many years of experience. Here is one example, and I will show results. This is one of our many large Silicon Valley organizations, Fortune 500. You would know this organization in a heartbeat. Their initial why was, hey, our people have got to have better conversations. They've got to have them on a regular basis. This once a year is not doing it for us. We need to accelerate performance and growth, and we need to do it across the globe at all levels. So we took the Churchill program and we tailored it for their culture, their language. We worked with HR and business leaders to put in the essence of their organization. We did a pilot, then we've been running it now for over 3 years. Constant improvement along the way, tailoring it for culture around the world. We deliver it in multiple languages. It works beautifully. It's a 10-week journey. We have a team of 10 Churchill coaches that deliver it around the globe so we can fit your footprint. And already now in year 4, we're doing programs that build off it, part of their manager effectiveness program. So we can sort of, repurpose it, use what leaders have learned to be better in other areas. So it's not a standalone program, it builds. You get your money's worth out of it by leveraging it in other ways over time. Here are their results. I'll give you a moment to look at those. Honey, I'll ask you in a moment if there's anything else that's come out of the chat box that I should address or that's worth the audience restating, that's worth you restating for the audience.
We have a question from Linda. What do you do when employees do not take responsibility or ownership for their tasks? You have coached them, but the employee is just not responsive.
So I think there's one of several things that could be going on there. So that's an observation, right? That's a big part of coaching, is observing with curiosity. I could assume someone is not doing what they said they'd do because they were lazy, right? And if I take that assumption, I probably am going to reduce trust and start this type of thing between me and my employee. I instead might take a coaching approach and really explore the reality. You said you would do this by this date. We see it hasn't happened. What's going on? That's an open question to not make any assumptions and build trust. So I do that in a way that I'm like, not going to make any assumptions here, but this needs to be delivered. Our company and customers need this. What's going on? So it's a big part of coaching when it comes to your employees making commitment, strong commitment before they leave you on one coaching conversation, and you touching base with them before the next conversation on the job and during the next coaching conversation to hold them accountable. Unfortunately, we can't make people accountable. I can't even make my 19-year-old son accountable every time, right? I've got to create the environment as a coach where he wants to be accountable. And that's why telling people doesn't work. And it's why coaching does. So in summary, building commitment and creating an environment as a coach in your conversations where people want to be accountable reduces the risk of that and helps you address it as a coach when it does happen. Did that help, Connie, when you heard through what I said?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you have any follow-up questions, I think Lisa asked that, then feel free to type them in. Anything else, Connie, that the audience needs to hear, or question of me?
From Terry, she is curious about how long sessions are when you're working with an organization.
Goodness, it's a learning journey. I don't believe from experience and adult learning that you teach someone to coach in a workshop and then they can coach. They have to have lots of practice over time, so it's a learning journey. And we fit that learning journey to fit the organization needs. So it can be 4 weeks, 10 weeks, multiple months, depending on the participants going through it, depending on where they're located. That's why we fit it to fit the audience, and we figure that out in the planning phase. We'll make it fit you. We won't make you fit into a round hole. Churchill partners with clients in different ways. We want you to get results because of our expertise where we've helped you. So it could be we have clients come to us say, hey, we don't know anything about coaching. Churchill, it's your expertise. We want you to do everything. That's what we call a managed service. Maybe that's something you're looking for. We have clients, the middle column, where they know something about coaching. They have coaches in HR. They have some leaders that are already coaching, but they need to take it to that next level, but they want some input into the program. So we partner with them, and it's more of a partnership. They might even co-facilitate with us for the program itself, but we're very partnered in the planning phase. And then we have clients that come to us to say, hey, we want you to help us plan and do the pilot phase, but then we want to deliver it all ourselves. We want you to exit. We do that too through a train the trainer. And that fits budget, it fits your style of organization. So we offer these three different approaches, or a blend of the three. We just want you to know that we flex to partner with you instead of saying, hey, this is Churchill's program, take it or leave it. And that means fitting with your budget as well. So my ask of you, my offer to you is if you are an HR leader or a business leader and want help to this in your organization and want 30 minutes with me, happy to do that. So really the call to action, what I'd ask each and every one of you is, what are you going to do with what you've learned today? I hopefully have challenged your insight. I hope I've shared some information, and I hope your peers have done the same for you in the chat box. Decide one thing at least that you're going to do differently from today. And if you do want that 30 minutes with me because you're an HR or a business leader, just put yes in the chat box right now, and then Connie will collect those and we'll follow up with you. Our next webinar, in fact, Connie and her team, when they reach out to customers and prospects and our followers, what do you want to hear? Communication comes up all the time. And I can tell you, I could do 20 webinars on communication. And I think you understand what I mean when I say that. One of the areas of communication is the ability to be clear and concise and therefore more compelling. So our webinar on October 1st, complimentary, is all about that. It will be more of a teaching you how to do it. So bring some of your leaders along with you. And it will also give you an idea of the type of programs that Churchill does if your organization needs help with communication. Please join us. Look for communications, but hold that date for now. Let's put out the last poll, Connie, and let's just get some feel of how valuable this was for you all. And then we will finish the webinar. Connie, if you can launch that last poll, excellent. Oh, that's a different question. So the poll is slightly different to what you see on the slide. It's getting a feel of what action you're going to take next. Thank you. And from me, from Connie, from our Global Churchill team, thank you to all of you very, very much indeed. And we wish you every success and love to help you create a coaching culture and capability for greater performance and success in your organization. Have a great rest of the day, wherever you are in the world. Thank you. Bye-bye.